If there's one thing you need to know about steam locomotive, is that it's a very quickly progressing machine. Throughout the years, steam locomotive designers always chased speed and power, and that led to many different designs, one more successful than another. Well, most of the time anyway. But some designs, unfortunately, as never came to be, and the reason behind it could be very different from one another. For some it's just, well, they don't need to exist at all. For some they're just too outdated. For some, they just a practical failure. And some just introduced too late. But among all these concepts, there was one that stood out for me the most. And I'm deeply ashamed that this engine has never came to be. An engine that I'm 100% sure would carry the legacy of steam locomotive a bit longer than it has. An engine that could bring the idea of a successful Great Western 462 design. Dear friends, this is the story of the Great Western Railway 8000 class, the Cathedral Pacific. Okay, so I know some of you may ask, what in the world is the 8000 class? Great Western Railway only built one Pacific, didn't they? Well, yes, of course. The 8000 class has never existed, it's only a concept. And indeed, the only Pacific that the Great Western ever built was indeed number 111, the Great Bear. So, what is the Cathedral Pacific? Let me explain. In the mid-1940s, the Swindon Drawing Office was created a concept for the 462 express passenger locomotive to be produced under Hawksworth, built on practical learns from castles, kings, but most importantly the Great Bear. And that's basically where the story of the 8000 class ends. No one exactly knows why this engine has never been officially produced. However, there was two theories. The first theory, and the one I mostly believe in, is that Hawksworth's 1000 County class was actually built as a test bed for the cathedrals. And the second theory states that Hawksworth himself is prevented any further developments of the design during his time in office, for some reason. Leave your opinions in the comments, which theory you mostly believe in. But whatever the case, this class had never existed, and only photoshops, drawings, and models could give us the visuals of what could have been the last Great Western express passenger locomotive. Another question that you may ask is, why is it called Cathedral? Well, here's an explanation. Believe it or not, but originally the Great Western 6000 class, King class, was supposed to be named after cathedrals. But after number 6000, now known as King George V, was invited to America in 1927, they decided to name the engines after monarchs. So the King class they became, and the name Cathedral was left unused, and since always associated with this lost design, the 8000 class. Now, I could have ended the video here. I mean, I told you all about cathedrals that I can, but as a massive fan of these engines, I just had to have them in my AU. So what am I about to tell you is the fictional history for the cathedrals made by Caledonia Works, Dark DJ Productions, and many others. This is the story of what could have been if the cathedrals did in fact existed. The Great Western Railway 8000 class, or Cathedral class, was a class of Pacific-type locomotives designed by Frederick William Hawksworth and built at Swindon Works between 1946 and 1947. The principal reason for this class to exist was to help to alleviate the necessity for double heading on the South Devon Bank with heavy trains. 20 of these engines built in 4 batches. The first 2 batches, from number 8000 to 8010, were built with single chimney and without the blast pipe. However, number 8010, Birmingham Cathedral, was experimentally fitted with double chimney and blast pipe, which improved its performance massively and which became a standard to all later locomotives. In 1947, number 8018, Lord of the Isles, achieved top speed of 112 miles per hour on Wellington Bank, not only setting the speed record for the Cathedral class, but also a new speed record for the Great Western Railway overall. Hence their name, Cathedrals. Majority of the class were named after, well, cathedrals, except for final 4 members of the class, deviating from this naming policy. Let's go through all 20 members. All 20 members passed into British Railways ownership in 1948, with some members of the class receiving some experimental liveries. The cathedrals proved to be capable machines. However, the ones that went to the southern region suffered from steaming problems, those being the single chimney examples. By early 1950s, all members of the class receive a standard BR Brunswick green, with only a few been painted into a BR blue. All members of the class survived to the very end of steam in 1968. Well, all except one. Number 8005, Truro Cathedral, is written off after a high-speed derailment in 1959. Out of 20, 6 survived into preservation, with 1 more being used as a spares donor, those being number 8002, Bristol Cathedral, privately preserved by the International Rail Tour Company and now operating on the main line. 8006, Chester Cathedral, preserved by the Canterlot and Dream Valley Railway and rebuilt back to his single chimney condition. 8008, Gloucester Cathedral, preserved on the Gloucestershire-Warwickshire Railway and also rebuilt back to single chimney condition. 8011, Brecon Cathedral, the only faceless member of the class, is used as a spares donor. 8015, St David's Cathedral, preserved at the Cardiff National Museum. 8018, Lord of the Isles, the most famous member of the class, is preserved by the National Railway Collection in the National Railway Museum at York. And finally, 8019, F.W. Hawksworth CME, the final member of the class, preserved by the Hawksworth Preservation Trust, also operating on the main line, and claimed to be the celebrity member of the class. And that, my friends, is the story of the Great Western Railway 8000 class, the Cathedral Pacific, the engine that never existed but should. I'm so happy that I finally made this video. I always want to discuss cathedrals on my channel. I'm just fully in for the cathedrals. They're my absolutely favorite, well, concept engines. I'm deeply ashamed that they never existed. I hope you learned something new from today's video and start to appreciate the cathedrals more than you has. You know who I'm talking about. Stretched out indeed. Leave your thoughts about the cathedrals in the comments. What do you think of them? And what would happen if they are existed? Come on, tell us your version. I also have a thoughts on making another video like this on the Great Western Railway 9200. What do you think? This is Daniel the Blue Schools class. Subscribe, leave a like and comments for the future videos, and bye!